I moved in to escape the noise, but silence has a way of making you hear things you shouldn't. After my breakup, I wanted peace more than anything. No roommates, no noise, no expectations, just me and silence. It was the kind of silence that felt cleansing. You know, the kind that lets you hear your own thoughts again. The first few weeks were peaceful. I worked from home, cooked simple meals, spent my evenings reading by the window. I started sleeping better too. Deep, dreamless sleep. The kind that almost feels like you've left your body for a while. Sometimes, I'd wake up and just listen to the creaks of the old building. The pipes, the wood floors, the hum of the refrigerator. It was an old place, charming, imperfect, but it felt safe. Or at least I thought it did. It was a Thursday morning when I noticed something strange. My phone was on the nightstand, plugged in like always, but the screen was on. A video playing. I frowned, still half asleep, and picked it up. At first, I thought maybe I'd fallen asleep watching something, but the video wasn't from YouTube. It was from my camera roll. The thumbnail showed my bed, the exact angle I was lying in. Right now, I hit play. It was me, sleeping. My phone was propped up somewhere at the foot of the bed. The video was almost 6 minutes long, just me, motionless, breathing softly in the dark. I froze. My first thought was, this has to be a prank. Maybe I sleepwalked? Maybe I filmed it myself somehow? But no, I didn't use my camera before bed, and even if I had, how could I have set it up like that? I watched the whole thing again, hoping to notice something, a clue, a reflection, anything that made sense. Nothing. The room looked exactly the same, except for one thing. About 3 minutes in, the light from the hallway flickered, just for a second, like someone had walked by. I checked every lock, every window, all closed. Then I told myself it was nothing. Maybe I left my screen recording on by mistake. I deleted the video and laughed it off. But later that night, when I plugged my phone in before bed, I couldn't stop looking at it, like I expected it to turn on by itself. The silence that once felt peaceful now felt heavy, like something was listening. I tried to sleep, and for the first time since I'd moved in, I didn't feel alone. The next morning, I convinced myself it was nothing. Phones glitch all the time, right? Maybe I'd pocket recorded something the night before without realizing. I wanted to believe that. I needed to believe that, because the alternative, that someone had been in my room, wasn't something I was ready to accept. That day, I tried to keep busy. I worked, cleaned, called my mom, even went for a walk around the neighborhood, just to remind myself the world was still normal. But when I got back, I noticed something odd. My bedroom door was slightly open. I never leave it open. Ever. It wasn't wide, just enough that I knew it wasn't how I'd left it. I stared at it for a long time, waiting for some kind of logical explanation to appear. Maybe I'd left it open in the morning rush, or maybe the air conditioning had pushed it. I forced myself to shrug it off. That night, I double-checked the locks. Front door, locked. Windows, locked. Bedroom door, closed tight. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every sound felt louder. The old pipes that used to comfort me now made me flinch. Eventually, exhaustion won, and I fell asleep. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was on the nightstand again. Screen off, just like always. But when I unlocked it, there it was. Another video. Same angle, same length, same title. Untitled. I felt my hands shaking before I even hit play. This one was darker. I could barely make out my outline in bed. But there was movement. Something faint in the corner. At first I thought it was my imagination. But then, I saw it. A shadow. Tall, slow, moving past the doorway. Just once, barely visible. But real. I paused the video and rewound it 3 times. Same moment, same movement. I zoomed in, but the image pixelated. Still, I knew what I saw. Someone was there. Someone had been in my apartment while I was sleeping. My heart was pounding. I checked the hallway. Nothing. The front door was still locked. The windows untouched. Everything exactly as it had been, which made it worse, because it meant whoever it was had a way in that I didn't know about. I didn't call the police. Not yet. It felt ridiculous. Hi, I think someone broke into my place to film me sleeping. Twice. They'd think I was paranoid? Maybe I was. But that night, for the first time since moving in, I locked my bedroom door. I told myself it was just to feel safe. But deep down, I knew I was starting to lose that feeling completely. It's strange how silence changes once you're afraid. It doesn't feel peaceful anymore. It feels alive. After that second video, everything changed. My apartment didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a stage, and I didn't know who was watching. Every sound became suspicious. Every creak, every hum felt like a whisper meant for someone else. I started sleeping with the lights on, not because it helped me feel safe, but because darkness started to feel alive. I told my best friend Lily about the videos. She laughed at first, thought I was joking. But when she saw my face, she stopped smiling. She said, "You need to call the police, Emily." But I couldn't. I had no proof, just blurry videos and paranoia, and part of me didn't want to believe it. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. I downloaded a security app on my phone and set it to record automatically when it detected movement. I placed the phone on my dresser, facing my bed, just in case. Then I lay down, eyes open, listening to the hum of the fridge through the wall, counting every breath, pretending I wasn't terrified. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to a soft noise, like fabric brushing against the wall. I froze, held my breath. The sound stopped. After a minute, I sat up slowly, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I whispered, "Hello?" Nothing. I reached for my lamp. The bulb flickered once before turning on. The room looked normal, empty, silent. Still, I barely slept after that. The next morning, I checked the recording. The app had triggered at 2:58 a.m. The video started in total darkness, no sound, just static hum from the microphone. Then, a faint creak, the sound of the door. I leaned closer to the screen. The door opened, slowly, barely a few inches, and then a shadow. It moved with purpose, human, tall. I stopped breathing. The figure walked toward the bed, toward me, and then the screen went black. I dropped the phone. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. This wasn't a glitch. Someone had been there, in my room, watching me sleep. I ran to the front door, locked. The windows, locked. The bathroom, closet, empty. But when I stood under the attic hatch in the hallway, I heard it, a soft dragging sound above me. I didn't move, didn't even breathe. The sound stopped, and for a moment, I thought maybe I'd imagined it, until something fell, a faint thud, right above my head. I grabbed my bag, my keys, and ran. I didn't stop until I was outside, standing barefoot on the sidewalk, my heart beating faster than it ever had before. I called Lily. She drove over, stayed on the phone until she arrived. When she came, she made me promise to call the police in the morning. I agreed. But that night, I slept on her couch, and for the first time in weeks, I actually slept. I didn't go back to my apartment for 2 days. Lily kept insisting I should call the police, but I told her I needed to think. That's what fear does. It makes you hesitate. It whispers, maybe it's nothing. Maybe you imagined it. Because if it's real, then your world is no longer safe. On the third morning, I finally went back. Broad daylight. The street was quiet, and my building looked exactly the same. Ordinary, harmless. But as soon as I stepped inside, I felt it again. That heaviness. Like the walls were holding their breath. The first thing I did was grab a broom handle and pull down the attic hatch in the hallway. Dust fell everywhere. The metal ladder squeaked as it unfolded. I stood there for a long time, staring into the dark hole above me. The air coming down was cold, and it smelled stale. I told myself I'd just take a quick look, just enough to calm my mind. I climbed slowly, one step at a time, the wood creaking beneath my feet. When my head reached the opening, I turned on my phone flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, and what I saw made my stomach twist. There were blankets, folded clothes, food wrappers, a half-empty water bottle. Someone had been living there for weeks. In one corner, a pile of notebooks, and next to it, a small camera tripod. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. I tried to breathe quietly, but then I heard it. A noise from the far side of the attic. The sound of something shifting. I froze. The flashlight trembled in my hand. And then, a shadow moved. Someone was up there, watching me. Before I could say anything, they bolted, darting toward the far end of the attic, where a second access panel led out to the neighboring building's roof. I screamed, not loud, just enough to make the sound real. By the time I climbed down and ran outside, they were gone. The police came later that day. They found footprints in the dust and a small hidden vent behind my closet, just big enough for someone to crawl through. They said whoever it was must have been coming down at night while I was asleep. When they showed me the notebooks, I didn't want to look, but I had to. Inside were pages of dates, times, and small notes. Things like, she smiled today. She talks in her sleep. She finally trusts me again. That night, I stayed at Lily's again. Neither of us slept. And when morning came, I went back one last time. Not to pack, not to clean, just to see. I stood in the hallway looking up at that open hatch. The blankets were gone, the camera too, but the smell of that place, the cold, stale air, still lingered. Sometimes I still wake up at 3 a.m., not because I hear something, but because I don't. And every time I close my eyes, I can still feel it. That heavy silence, the kind that listens back. If my story sounds like something out of a nightmare, remember, real fear isn't loud. It's quiet. It's the sound of realizing that safety is just an illusion. Thank you for listening. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Unspoken Truths for more stories that reveal what's hidden in the dark.